Miami Grand Prix aftermath. Man, what a Grand Prix and what a change of scene in Formula One. Thanks to Lando Norris winning his first race. 110th Grand Prix and done deal. He's a Grand Prix winner and deservedly so. You know, he's been at it for a long time. He hasn't always had a good car. But this weekend, the story's been all about him. We had a suspicion when they arrived. Our man on the spot, Nasser Hamid, said there was a good atmosphere in the McLaren pits. Thanks Formula One and FIA for giving him the accreditation to be at the Grand Prix. He got us some really nice stories. Check them out on our site. Nasser Hamid, he's our correspondent to be at all the USA Grand Prix. We had a suspicion. McLaren had something special. They had an update, but you know, updates in this modern day and age, ask Mercedes, ask a lot of these guys, don't always make the car go forward. So it appears that McLaren did something really good, and they were talking it up. It was the second sprint weekend on the calendar, back to back.
Well, first of all, I have to congratulate you, Paul. First of all, because McLaren are your team and they finally won. And second of all, because
hence the orange, hence the whole orange thing, okay? And the haircut, The day after they won, I thought of getting a tattoo. I thought, no, go for a haircut. I went for a haircut and a shave. Thanks, McLaren.
Yeah, you leave the tattoos for Zak Brown. He's going to have the Miami.
Exactly. No, it was a good day for McLaren. As a fan, it was a really good day.
Yeah, and the second reason is that for once, I wasn't worried about you finding a superlative for the headline for the race report. Max did not win, so you had an easy headline going there. So congratulations. Like you said, McLaren came to Miami with a major upgrade. Now we have to note from the start that the full upgrade was on Lando's car. Half of the upgrade was only on Oscar's car. And it's impressive. Piastri did a decent job with half the upgrades. He wasn't so off Lando all over the weekend. But yeah, Oscar had the flying start. He was faster than Lando in FP1. And then, yeah, we went into the sprint qualifying with the sense that McLaren are on it and Red Bull were a bit struggling. You know, they couldn't get on top of the car with just one session. And
okay, I'm going to interrupt you there because I want to just say something about that. You were right. I thought they were sandbagging. I thought Max was getting a bit of the Lewis Hamilton blues, you know, when Lewis had a fantastic car and he could find fault in it. Max is a bit like that these days. So I thought, they just, you know. So honestly, I put my hand up. I was wrong. You were right. I think they are in trouble. And we've discussed this before at the low, the street circuit, you know, Melbourne, they didn't win there. You know, they had problems. They might have won. But end of the day, I think that might be the only Achilles heel in this RB20. But carry on.
Yeah, maybe the RB20 has, let's say, the Singapore syndrome. Yeah, but anyhow.
Yeah.
So when we came to sprint qualifying, we expected McLaren to be there. And for the first, you know, stage, SQ1, SQ2, they were there. But then somehow they lost all their pace in SQ3 when they switched into the soft tires, and
which was a case for a lot of guys.
Exactly.
I think only Max went quicker. I think Max found 4/10. No one else went quicker than SQ2.
Yeah,
but yeah, carry on.
Exactly. So they couldn't find the time, and they qualified 6th and 9th. Even it was a case of Max being the least bad among the disasters that were around him, but he was the least bad, and that's why he took pole. And then, you know, in the sprint, Lando had this crash. He crashed out. He spun out by Lewis hitting the Aston Martins, hitting him, a dominoes effect, and he was out of the race, which was a disappointment for him. And
yeah, let's stop you there, man. You know, I was a bit aggrieved. I don't know why Lewis didn't get a penalty for that. I mean, you know, as Alonso said, and you can see it on the onboards, you know, Lewis came like a bull, he said. And he's right. You know, if it had been a Spaniard or any other nationality, apart from English speaking, you know, they love the Aussies, they love but anyone else, man, it would have been like, look at this guy, you know. But Lewis just got a free pass from the pundits, except for Martin Brundle. Credit to Martin Brundle, who said that was a proper bowling alley move by Lewis, which it was. So, you know, I felt that it cost Lando his race, you know, because Lando had a good shot at that race, but you'll take us on it. And it also cost, well, Stroll is kind of losing it at the same time, but Stroll is always losing it. But Alonso also, you know, got a tap. And yeah, it's a shame. It's really a shame that Lewis doesn't get called out when he makes those kind of blatant mistakes. But carry on.
Yes, exactly. I think it's a problem now with the FIA. Remember, a couple of years ago, they said that they're gonna be lenient with first lap incidents, you know, because it's a mess. Everyone's trying to find their place on the track and stuff like that. But sometimes it's clear. This one was clear. There should have been a penalty out there, but yeah, whatever. This is not our story. So yeah, the sprint, it was another disappointment. You know, Oscar finished sixth, and yeah, they couldn't do it. And Max won it, but by a slight margin. And there we saw that, yeah, the Red Bull were still struggling. But then, you know, after the sprint, the Parc Fermé conditions are up and they can change the cars. So we expected them to go better in qualifying. But then come qualifying as well, McLaren were up and down in qualifying. They started well, and interestingly, you know, they have free choice of tires, and they went with the medium tire. They qualified into Q3 with the medium tire. But then, yeah, in Q3, the soft tire was on again. They couldn't deliver the lap. And Lando, I think he qualified fifth. And Max took pole. But interestingly as well, Max couldn't improve on his second and final lap in Q3. So, yeah, and he said it was a terrible lap. He admitted that. But come the race, we could see Max couldn't pull out the advantage we're used to him doing on lap one. You know, he was etching out the gap, but not as fast as we know him. He simply wasn't at one with his car all weekend long. And then McLaren went long with their first stint, you know, waited for the safety car, and boom, that's when things happened for Lando. Now, yeah, he was lucky with the safety car timing, but end of the day, he had to keep Max at bay at the restart, and that's not easy. Max was very naughty at the safety car restart. We all saw that. He kept him at bay.
Well, I don't know if it was naughty. Can I interrupt? I mean, you know, I take your point, but honestly, I don't think he was naughty. He basically never let Lando get the break. You know, he basically from 3 or 4 times. First of all, Lando should have gone earlier. He should have gone 100 meters earlier and sort of caught him then, but he didn't. And I think Max just did what you do in karting when you get that kind of vibe. You know, normally the guy in the front has the advantage, but if you can just stick to the bumper, which is what Max did, I'm not going to say he was naughty. I think that's, you know, it's your opinion versus mine, but honestly, I felt it was just smart, and I think Lando was tardy off the restart.
Yeah, he didn't quite stick to the bumper, you know. His nose was almost at halfway through the McLaren at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but then Lando started pulling out the gap, and I'm watching the race and I'm saying, okay, what's wrong with that Red Bull? What's wrong with Max? You know, he couldn't close the gap, and then the gap started growing and growing and growing. And then, you know, we found it was just, that's it. Lando had the pace. The Red Bull didn't have the pace. After the race, they said that it was damaged because of Max's trip over the bollard, so he couldn't do anything. But honestly, even with the Red Bull being at not damaged, let's say, without the damage that it sustained, and with Lando up front, I think Max would have struggled to catch him because, like I said, his pace wasn't what we have come to see from Red Bull in race trim, and yeah. It's simply Lando's day. You know, everything fell together. All the pieces fell together in the right place. And yeah, congratulations. First win, major milestone for him. And yeah, decent result for McLaren.
Yeah, look, end of the day, I was reporting the story and I thought, okay, Lando got a bad start. He dropped a position. Lewis got past him, if I remember correctly. He hung out in 6th for quite a while. Around lap 15, 16, he managed to get past Perez. And then he still had the 2 Ferraris in front of him. So he had the pace, but the safety car did come out at a very good time for him. I mean, it was totally opportune. But he was the bravest. He was running it the longest. So it was a very well-calculated strategy by McLaren. And then when they lined up, I thought, wow, Max is going to get him here on the restart. But fortunately, Lando hung in there and then pulled a 1.4 gap probably in the first lap or 2 that he was leading. And I thought, okay, here comes Max. But there was no Max. Every time it was like a 10th here, 10th there, then half a second. Then eventually I think he won by over nearly 10 seconds, you know. So kudos to him. As you said, It was his day. Zak Brown, you've got to say, Zak putting together this team. You know, he's fired and hired a lot. Andrea Stella hire. I mean, the guy, and he's just his class. He's, you know, as much as Zak is the racing guy and just you can't control him in terms of enthusiasm, Stella's the same, but he's just dignified. He brings the, you know, that greeting to his driver was just the image of the season as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, as a McLaren guy, I'm really happy that the team is where it's at. You know, it's nice to see him at the front. And I'm gonna say, let's not forget Oscar Piastri. I mean, he's a rookie. Yes, he's been to Miami before, but he was there. He was on the sharp end. He was fast, and his battle with Sainz will go down as one of the most memorable I've seen for a long time. I don't know why Sainz was crying like a baby. Oh, you know, I think it was a point I thought to myself, Sainz was basically saying, tell McLaren that I'm a bit upset that Norris has done this and whatever. It's like, what? It's like, does he still think he has influence in McLaren to make their driver give back a position that he had no reason to give back? Oscar was superb. I mean, that he got damaged, well, you know, sadly. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Oscar?
I was very impressed with Oscar. Like I said, he didn't have the full upgrade package on his car, but yet he outqualified Norris in one of the, I think, in the sprint qualifying, and he was very close. He wasn't far off all weekend long. Yeah, he was stuck in this fight with Sainz. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if he has more experience, he would have avoided it. The tag, you know, the tag when Sainz tagged him in the end and broke his front wing, that's all on Sainz, you know. But yeah, it was a decent weekend for Oscar. And just a mention, like you said, for Andrea Stella. For me, when I was watching the post race and when they're celebrating in Parc Fermé, just when Andrea Stella was just standing there holding his opening his arms to Lando, very calm. You know, it's a very feel-good story to see a guy that came from Ferrari as a race engineer. Where he was race engineer to Fernando Alonso. He came as director of race operations, I think, and he just went up through the ranks in McLaren. Now he has the top job over there, and he's doing such a decent job. I think, yeah, he's doing a fantastic job, and yeah, all credit goes to him for the way he's managing the team. Like you said, he gives this air of calmness at the pit wall, which is something, yeah, something I think the team need now.
Yeah, and finally, it's, you know, to just switch off on the Lando Norris fantastic Miami Grand Prix weekend. Again, 110th Grand Prix, he finally got it. Very difficult in the era of Mercedes and Red Bull domination, and that's why, you know, the plaudits have to go to McLaren. And it was just beautiful to see those images of the drivers, every single one of them getting out of their cars, and the first thing they did is congratulate Lando. That's how popular he is. And furthermore, you know, that tribute that they gave to Gilles de Ferran in his memory and dedicating the victory to him, I think that's special. You know, it's sport. We're seeing sport here, sport at its best, and it was a moving weekend, and I think a very good weekend for Formula One, because Red Bull can be beaten, and Norris proved that.
Like we said, it was the perfect storm for McLaren. We've seen other stuff up and down the grid, but I think the spotlight should be on McLaren. And yeah, now we have a bit of a break and on to Imola next time, and we'll see how that goes.
Before we go, this weekend I'm off to the Monaco Historic Grand Prix. We're going to sort of like basket from there and see if we can maybe do some streaming and whatever. We'll do some video clips afterwards. Going to take a lot of pictures of amazing cars. I'm going to meet there up with our man Nasser Hamid, and we're going to try and bring you as much content as we can from there. Until then, thank you guys for listening in and watching. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you got this far, thank you very much. Cheers.